What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be finally replacing my China CX Racing turbo manifold. If you're new, welcome. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. I have a CX Racing thick wall top mount turbo manifold on my 240, and it seemed to be pretty good for a while. We made good power on the dyno. Everything seemed pretty reliable, but just one day, just out of nowhere, the car started breaking up in boost up top and started feeling really sluggish down low. At first I thought it was like a coil pack issue, maybe one of the plugs is loose, or maybe it's something to do with the spark plugs, because usually breaking up in boost is an ignition problem. We did a lot of troubleshooting to kind of eliminate the possibility of it being on the ignition side. We also found 2 cracks in the manifold, and both the wastegate and head flange were warped really badly. I hit them up, long story short, no response, nothing. They totally ignored me. So, oh well, I'm probably never gonna buy another CX Racing part again. In case you were in the market for a CX Racing product, I would say find another company, spend a little bit more money and get a real part. CX Racing doesn't stand behind their products, and their stuff is all from China. If you're okay with that and you want to replace a manifold every year, go for it. Well, I'm getting a new manifold. It's actually on its way. It's not here yet. It won't be here for a couple days, but that's fine. I just want to have everything ready by the time it does get here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the turbo off, take the downpipe off, and take the O2 sensor off, take the wastegate, everything, disconnect it from the manifold, pull the manifold off, and then we're going to take a look at it and see if it actually cracked any worse, because we fixed the cracks, but we're still having the same issue. One thing that I really need to do is get new valve cover gaskets, because in the back here it's actually leaking. I just cleaned off a little bit of the oil residue because oil had dripped onto it. But if you look at number 5, it had a huge leak. All were leaking because we didn't get this resurfaced. All we did was we cut there and there to separate it into 3 different flanges, and we were hoping that that would help it move to where it would seal correctly. We did that with the idea of we're going to get a new manifold anyway. We were just trying to do an easy fix. Didn't pan out. So that manifold is going to go bye-bye. This gasket's brand new. I'll just clean it up and reuse it. And the car's been driven maybe 30 miles since it got this gasket, so we're gonna reuse this one. Yeah, so this is gonna go. Unfortunately, I need to get a new V-band flange for our wastegates because I'm unable to reuse this one. So I'm not really gonna do anything else today. We got everything off. Everything is sealed for the next couple of days. I changed my mind already about the gasket. I actually have a new gasket that I'm going to be using anyways. I'll get rid of the 3-layer one and we'll end up using that one. Now with this new manifold, it's going to put the wastegate and the turbo in a different location. Normally my turbo sits right here between cylinder 2 and 3. Now it's going to be between 3 and 4. So it's going to be pushed back, and it's not going to be angled like the manifold that I already have is. So we're going to have to adjust the intercooler piping, adjust the downpipe, which the downpipe shouldn't be too bad. And we're also going to have to figure out what we're going to do with the wastegate, because I don't know if we're going to be able to have it out the hood still. I'd like to. That'd be awesome. It's going to be really tight around this area now, so it's going to be a little bit difficult. So I'll update you guys once the manifold shows up. So I got some good news. Our new manifold came. It is the Twisted Motion Ironman T3 with the 38mm wastegate. Everything about this manifold looks better than this one. The welds look better. These welds are kind of like sunken in on all of them, so it's almost like either they burned it too hot or they didn't use enough filler rod. On all the welds, everything looks way better on this. We have little braces for the turbo flange on both sides. The only thing that I don't like about this manifold, I think this manifold did better, is the wastegate location. On this one, it's at the bottom, but the exhaust flow isn't going that way, so how is it going to be effective if exhaust gas isn't going to there? More than likely we're going to retune the car, so I'll probably just leave the manifold how it is, and we just won't have the wastegate coming out of the hood anymore, because there's just no way. They put it in a bad spot for that, so even if I wanted to come between these 2 cylinders, I would have to branch off of that. It's unfortunate, but I think we're just going to have to rock the screamer pipe going down. So it looks like it is the end of the hood exit for me, which sucks, but oh well. Like I said, we have to modify the downpipe. I think all we have to do is cut it back, and then that should be it. We'll see. I have the new O2 sensor bung and a new V-band. What I don't like about this V-band is I got the flat one on accident. What you want to get is the male to female V-bands, which is what this one is and what the rest of the exhaust uses. Those are coming today, so we'll be able to get that done. One thing that I want to do is my drain for the turbo has like no heat protection at all. I'm actually going to use the exhaust wrap on this and use the metal zip ties to keep it on. I know that they make actual like heat sleeve for like lines like this. I don't have any, and the exhaust wrap is going to do the same thing, even though it's more of a bitch to install. So we're going to take the exhaust wrap. I have like an extra 150 feet of this. I bought way too much when I wrapped my exhaust. exhaust. Take the exhaust wrap and let it sit for a little bit. So after we wrap it, we'll use the metal zip ties to keep it on. This is our new gasket we're going to use. It actually came with my spare motor, which I have a little surprise. We got the head back from the machine shop. There was a little mishap and the machine shop accidentally broke one of the cams, and they ended up installing RB26 cams in for free. Basically, the only difference between them is that the RB26 cams have an extra millimeter of lift. The degrees are the same on them, so it'll just make a little bit more power, and it'll probably change the sound just a little bit, but this will eventually go on the 240. I'm not sure when though. So right now I am cutting off one of the old flanges for the 4-bolt flange on the turbo so we can install our new V-bands that just showed up. You see this one has a little lip in there and this one has the other side to it. So it can only go on one way and it perfectly seals so no exhaust can get out and we won't have an exhaust leak here. When you have two perfectly smooth surfaces, you don't get that because the V-band clamps don't always close the same way. So it might look like it's sealed, but you probably have a leak unless it's like perfectly centered. It's gonna leak. These ones don't let you put the clamp on unless it's perfectly centered. So if you're buying any, you want to get these ones. So I have the drain line wrapped. It's so annoying using these metal zip ties. They're honestly trash. They don't even work most of the time, but I don't have anything else. If you guys know of a better solution, please hit me up because this is just crap. I really hate them. Like this one I had on and it loosened itself while I was getting the other ones on and I was able to just slide it off and now it doesn't want to tighten itself anymore. So that's just awesome. Right here we have our flange. We cut the old V-band off and now we can weld this new one to it. I don't have a 2-bolt flange for the wastegate. I think what I'm going to do is just weld this straight to that. So this adapter that we have is all complete now. I sprayed it with some high heat clear coat. It'll do up to 550 degrees, which should be plenty. I did that because I don't want it to rust because we used a wire brush to clean everything up. And this is actually mild steel, not stainless steel, so it can rust. So I'm doing the same thing to this flange right now. That's all welded up. So now we can throw this on the turbo. So we got the flange on the turbo. It looks really good. And if we just take a look inside, everything looks pretty good in there. It's all pretty much smooth. This is the old one. I was still learning how to TIG weld it. I've gotten better, clearly. So it wasn't exactly a smooth, free-flowing path. There was a little bit of obstruction. Still made 330 wheel horsepower with it. That with this new manifold too, we're going to see boost a little bit sooner because it's funneling all 6 into it pretty evenly. Versus this one, which basically you're getting 1 through 4 relatively evenly. You're getting 1 super early. 5 and 6 take a little bit more to get to there, although I think that's what gave it that nice like deep sound, which I did like a lot, but I like reliability a little bit more, so hopefully we have good results with this manifold. But definitely going to have to retune it because with the position of the wastegate, we're going to have to adjust the boost controller. Not as much exhaust is going to flow to here, which sucks. That's a terrible design. I think we're making pretty good progress. I mean, we've got this piece done. We've got our drain line is wrapped. Our manifold, all the modifications that we needed to do is all done. Once we get everything installed, we have to mess with our downpipe and we're gonna have to cut it short, and hopefully that's all we have to do. We don't have to do any more modification to it. And we also have to mess with the intercooler piping. The intercooler piping makes me a little bit nervous because I didn't weld that. I had a shop weld that for me and they welded that and then a couple fittings on the other side, and that was 80 bucks. And I really don't want to pay anyone to weld aluminum for me. I have the TIG welder. I've welded aluminum a couple times. It just kind of scares me. I hope that my welds can withstand about 18 to 20 psi. I guess there's really only one way to find out. So I put the wastegate on, but I didn't tighten the clamp so we can still adjust it. But we're ready to throw the manifold in. So we're gonna throw the manifold in. We're gonna have a couple of the nuts holding it up, and then we'll be able to see where our wastegate is going to go. I have a feeling it's gonna go right into the steering column. So you can see right there that the wastegate is going just next to the steering column, so we'll have to work our way around that. It's kind of hard to tell, but the wastegate is starting pretty much right before the U-joint for the steering column. So it's basically just got like 90 over and then like 45 down. We'll have to do the screamer pipe last because we need to get the exhaust in first. So I have the turbo just mocked up, and the only thing that I don't like is the way that I have to run this drain line. Because there's like no room right under it, I have to route it to where it goes down and then in. It kind of does like a S, and I'm just not a big fan of that, but I don't really have any other options. So I looked up under Precision Turbo what they recommend as far as where the feed and drain should be. With the feed on, you want to have it vertical with the feed on top and the drain on the bottom, which we have. However, you'll notice we're not at 0 degrees or 12 o'clock. We're actually at 15 degrees, which is the max for what Precision recommends. So we got our drain line on, and then our feed line we're just going to bring up to the top. So we got our oil lines done. Now if you look at the exhaust, we're going to have a lot of fun. I might have to take this piece off and modify it to bring it in closer, and then push the brake lines out of the way, push the exhaust further away from the valve cover. I cut our downpipe so we can get it in. You can see how they're offset. Because of how our old setup was, the exhaust pretty much was centered right here, and we need it right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut a bunch of pie cuts, and we're going to have the exhaust go straight back from the turbo and then go over and then straight again. So that'll offset it to bring it to where the original location was. That'll probably be the easiest and cleanest way to run that, at least that I can think of. So that's what we're going to do. So if you don't know what a pie cut is, these are called pie cut. Basically what they are pieces that have angled cuts on both sides, and you stack them together to create angles. Instead of bending pipe, you do pie cut, and you can make it curve. And it keeps the same inner diameter throughout the whole way, and you can get really tight angles with it. I'm cutting out a bunch of these, and we're going to mock up the exhaust, and we're going to see how we can route it. The downpipe's pretty much done. It's just tack welded together for this section. It does fit, so I'm going to weld it up real quick, and then I'll show you guys the fitment. So, downpipe is all done. It's not the prettiest. It's not really pretty at all, but I think it came out alright, and it's going to get wrapped anyways, so it doesn't matter what these welds look like as long as they don't break. Really close to the brake booster. I'll have to see if we can somehow try to get it away from that. We are going to be wrapping the downpipe like I said, so we shouldn't have any issues. The last downpipe ran pretty close to the brake booster before, and it was also wrapped, and we didn't have any issues with that. And my buddy Devin, who was in the last video with his S13, he actually had his wastegate for his RB coming out literally right here in between the clutch and the brake master cylinders, and he didn't have any problems having the wastegate there. So we should be good with this setup. I will wrap the downpipe, and then we are all done with the exhaust. So I think the intercooler piping is actually going to be relatively easy. So we angled the turbo down. The plan is to have the 90 sitting offset like that to where it's at an angle, and this pipe is the same level as the 90. So pretty much all we have to do is take this pie cut, and we have to weld it onto the end of this. Obviously we're going to cut this short so we don't have that lip there, and then if you see, they then line up, so we just need a straight piece from there. So this should be pretty easy. So this is the plan for the intercooler piping. I just cut this piece here because we got this tacked on, but essentially it's just going to go like that. So I'll now tack this together, and then we'll fully weld it. So I don't really weld aluminum that often. For some reason, it's really easy for me to weld it when it's like this. There's a little messes up like there. I didn't have the gas on, and I was like, what the hell's going on? But like today, I did a couple practice runs. I did these two here and these two. I just wanted to do practice runs, you know, just to warm up because I haven't really welded aluminum before, and I think they came out all right. And then I come over here and I try to tack weld it, and it's just a nightmare. I went through 3 different pie cuts. I had to just keep cutting new ones, and I'm gonna have to do it again because for some reason it was messing up right there, and I just couldn't figure out what was going on. So I'm going to be doing some research, watching a lot of videos, trying to get some practice in so I can make this look good and seal. But I'm gonna have to cut back some material, so I'm cutting back as close as I can to save material because I don't want to have to buy another one of these flanges, and I don't want to have to weld it on because I got this welded at a shop and it was 80 bucks, and I'd like to keep using it because it held at 20 pounds. What I'm going to do tonight is put the manifold on, but right now I'm going to take the turbo off, and we're going to get the manifold on the head, seal it, have everything good there. Well, here's the downpipe. We got it all wrapped. I seriously hate these metal zip ties so much. It does make it look good, but I mean, It's so annoying. So we have the turbo on fully, tightened everything down, put the new gasket in. We got our oil lines tight, and to get to this one bolt on the turbo flange, I actually ended up taking out this bolt and then the one below it so I could fit a socket down there, because there was just no other way for me to get to that bolt. But we have our turbo clocked correctly, so now all we have to do is put the downpipe in and then finish up the intercooler piping. So I'm getting extremely frustrated because I've gone through like 10 pie cuts at this point. I keep getting pissed off and crushing them. For some reason, I can weld like decent on the practice, and as soon as I go over to actually try it on the piece, it just goes to shit. And I'm trying to get as much practice welds in as I can so I can figure out what I'm doing wrong and try to correct it. But sometimes everything is like looking decent, and then stuff like this happens where I don't even know what happened there. So we are making pretty good progress. I got a good bead on there, a couple beads there, just slowly working my way around, doing a couple beads and then letting it cool down. And it seems my whole issue was that I just didn't have the torch close enough to it, and I changed from a gas lens to a collet body, which if you don't really know anything about welding, that means nothing to you. But if you're having troubles with aluminum welding, just try and keep the torch really close to it, but not, you try to keep the torch really close to it, and that'll help a lot. So I'm going to finish this up and then we're good to go. So it's now all done. It's welded all the way around. I'm just letting it cool off right now because it's still pretty hot. But we finally got it done, so we can throw that on the car. So now we have our intercooler piping is all complete once again. So everything else is on except the screamer pipe for the wastegate. So I am working on the screamer pipe. We have our flange, and then we've got our one pie cut, and I need to cut out more pie cuts. I need to do at least one more. We'll see if we can get away with just one, but I'm currently cutting that out right now. Kind of hard to see, but so we're gonna have the wastegate come out of the bottom, and it's going to go right between the downpipe and the steering column. It's hard to see because the steering column is right in the way, but we got two pie cuts and then this straight piece, and we 45'd it here just to make it look a little cooler. And then it clears everything, clears the power steering lines, which we don't even have power steering, but that's okay. So we're gonna fully weld it and then wrap it. So we have our wastegate and screamer pipe complete. We just had to tighten the clamp because there's no way that I could get it with it in the car. And we have this firing in. If you don't have that, you're gonna have a leak, so don't forget that. But now we are ready to throw it in the 240. I actually had to extend the downpipe a little bit because this setup actually raises the turbo. So the turbo's sitting higher now, so the downpipe was shorter. So I just had to extend that real quick. And we have our exhaust back on, but right now it's got to come out because we are going to take that resonator out. So we're going to have 2.5-inch stainless steel straight pipe all the way to here, right in front of the tire. So we're going to cut the resonator. We marked our spots, and this pipe is going to replace it. So let's get to it. So we have the resonator out, and if we look at the 240, that piece is only tacked in. I still have to fully weld it, but I just wanted to do a test fit first, and it's perfect. It drops it down just a little bit lower. I had to extend the downpipe, like I said, but now we can fully weld it, and then once that's done, we're completely done. So, just like that, we have it fully welded all the way around. So this pipe is now done. We're gonna do one more test fit just to make sure, and then if it fits, then we will get the exhaust wrap and wrap it. So right now everything is put back together. We put our wideband in, everything's tightened down, the wastegate, boost controller, everything's hooked back up. So we're gonna start the car and we're gonna see how she sounds. This thing sounds insane. It sounds so good. We have everything back on it now. It's all done. The exhaust is hooked up. You can only hear the exhaust at the side pipe, which is perfect. Our AFR is reading better. It's still a little weird. At this point, I think we're ready to get retuned. I might still do a smoke test to check for boost leaks and vacuum leaks before we go to the dyno. But for now, like, we got so much done. We have a whole new hot side setup, straight pipe exhaust, it's just a huge upgrade. So I am very, very happy to be finally done. Like I said, I think that we're going to do a smoke test on it just so we can be like triple sure that everything's good on it. So stay tuned for that video. I'm going to wrap the exhaust like I said, but I'm gonna do it off camera because it's really tedious and boring, but I think we can say that it's a success. The car sounds way better than before. I can't wait to actually like hear it on the dyno and then hear it while driving it in the desert. It's gonna sound so good. I can't wait. The dyno probably won't be for a couple weeks. We got some stuff going on next weekend, doing a little bit of drifting maybe, so we won't be able to fit that in next weekend. So the earliest we can do it is in 2 weeks. It's gonna be between 2 and 3 weeks. We'll see what's good for Chris, my tuner, and what's good for the car, assuming that the smoke test, everything is good on it. So that is going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate when you guys take the time out of your day to watch me do stuff to my car. Probably doing it the wrong way, but it really does mean a lot, so thank you. Leave a comment down below, let me know what you guys want to see with the Offroad 240, and then hit that subscribe button. Peace.